Yo guys, I'm Nick from the Producer School and welcome to this brand new series. We partnered up with Tracklib to create a series where we cover the sound of a bunch of different artists. We will also especially go over the sample process on how you select the samples and how you process or use them in a track. This is the first episode and today we will go over the sound of Bleu Clair. Before we're going to dive into FL Studio, let's move on to treklip.com. You can sign up to Tracklib using the link in the description. This will give you 15 free samples, which is a pretty solid base to start with. Firstly, let me explain what Tracklib exactly is. Tracklib is an online record store for sampling where you can go in and sample re-released music from all decades, genres and regions. If you then want to release your new song with the sample, you can go back to Tracklib and license it for only 50 euros. Essentially, they offer real sample clearance but affordably and fast online. So as you can see, I'm here on the all tracks section on treklip.com. There are lots of samples that you can choose from old samples to new samples. It's totally up to you. Tracklib offers a lot of filter functions and that makes it really easy to find the sound that you are looking for. In this case, I want to go for a jazzy kind of a sample. So in that case, I go to the genre tab right here and I select jazz. All the jazz samples from Tracklib will appear. So let's search for something that we can use. So I just found this sample. I really like it, but let's check out if this artist has a bit more samples. And you can simply click on the artist to see more samples that are available from that artist, and that makes it really easy to find your sound. I think I found the sample that we are going to be utilizing in this video. When you found your sample, you can find all the useful information right here. So for example, the key or the BPM the track is in. And then you can simply add it to your download. So you can click download the track, or you can highlight it with a star if you want to save it for later, which is also a possibility. I'm going to download the track and yeah, right now I'm going to try to create something cool with it. I loaded my favorite part from the sample into FL Studio and it sounds like this. Really cool sample, but let's pitch it down a bit. I feel like it could be a bit lower. So let's go for like 2 semitones down. I already imagined the sample on a Bleu Clair kind of track, and I would really like the drop to hit on this note. So that's what we're going to do. But first I want to chop this sample up a little bit, because we can then give our own unique twist to this and make the sample a bit better for the purpose we're using it for. This part is really cool. Let's cut that out. Let's just go for a 4-bar loop. So it's really handy to put on the metronome, because that really gives you a clear view on what you're doing with the sample. So the beginning is really cool. Let's use that. I imagine this as a kind of pre-drop sample, which we're going to be utilizing for sure. As I already mentioned, I want the drop to start on this note, so I just keep that note very short so the drop can hit really dry. Let's move on to creating a drop with the sample on top of it. One thing I already prepared was the bass line and the kick and clap, and I'm now going to show you what that sounds like. I just did this to make sure this video will not be like 30 minutes long. So the bass I made together with a kick and clap sounds like this. As you can hear, the bass is really low, punchy and groovy. Let's dive into the serum preset real quickly. As you can see, the envelope 1 is really short. The oscillator A is just a standard analog BD sine. And we linked the short envelope 2 to the chorus pitch. After that, we put some EQ and sidechain on it, and then you're done already. The samples are from our sample packs. Yeah, that's basically it. What Bleu Clair does a lot is playing a old sample like we have here in this pre-drop. In the part where normally you have your build-up playing, the sample will be playing, and then suddenly the dry tech house kind of drop will kick in, and that's something that really marks his style. So we're going to try and recreate that today. Right now, the transition between that pre-drop sample and the drop sounds like this. I see a lot of potential in this sound, so let's move on with the drop. On top of the bass, you want the sample to play like really short cuts of the sample. We already chose this synth shot from the sample. Perhaps we can place it off beat as well on top of the bass, which sounds like this. That really creates a groove already. I took the sample and I put a bit of EQ and a Soothe dynamic resonance suppressor on it. This Soothe just makes it a bit more clean. If you guys want to know more about Soothe, we can probably do a video about that soon as well. It's a really powerful dynamic suppressor EQ, and we cut out some of the low end. One of the most important parts of the Bleu Clair style is his delay. So we took a delay and we put it on the sample, and we set the time to 3 seconds, and then we put down the cutoff of the feedback a bit, so the delayed signal is a bit filtered. And then you want to create a automation of the delay mix level. When you've done that, you turn on the delay after your sample slices have hit. So what do I mean by that? Right here we have these two samples hitting in the first 2 beats, and right then we want the delay mix level to be turned on right here, and that gives a really cool effect, as you can hear. It's very important to get the groove going. We got a foundation of the drop. Now let's search for some melodic kind of sounds on which we're going to play some jazzy kind of chords on top of the sample. The bass note is playing in Ds, so we're going to create a Ds chord as well. Firstly, I loaded in this Omnisphere, which is the coffee can kalimba, and it sounds really typical. On top of the bass we wanted some chords, and I came up with this chord progression, which sounds like this. As you can hear, it really has the Bleu Clair vibes to it. So how do you do that? When you want to make a chord like him, you start with your bass note. And you can start with a normal minor or major chord, something like this. Then you can add another note right here. So when you have a minor, you leave 2 spaces in between and you add another note, and you get a jazz kind of sound. And the trick I use then is I just copy this chord and turn it up 7 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As you can see, we have some duplicates. But right now you have a chord with quite a lot of notes, and that sounds like this. It really gives it that Bleu Clair kind of vibe. Make sure you add an EQ and a delay. Just repeat the same process for the delay and link the mix level to the automation you already created for your sample. One important thing to mention is that your synth or your chords don't have to play at the same time as your sample. So in this case, we chose to go for something like this. You can see I decided to let the delay kick in a little bit later, and then together the sounds sound like this. And I think you now already start to recognize the sound of Bleu Clair. I'm also adding a sine kind of synth I made in Serum, which looks like this, just to give the synth a bit of body. So this already sounds pretty cool. Let's move on to finishing the drums in the drop and adding some variation with FX and stuff like that. Alright, so I added some drums to the drop and I will now go over them one by one. So as you guys already heard, I already had a kick and a clap. After the first bar, there is a head coming in as well. Then we have some percussions and some laser shots just on some offbeat places to get the groove going. Same goes for this one. We also added some white noise to let the drop hit a bit harder. And then you can see right here there are some more percussions with a pen out. For the transitions, these FX are really important. They are from the Sampacho pack. Sound like this. In the second part of the drop, we added a shaker to the sound. If you want a bit more variation, you can add some different chords. For example, move all the notes up 7 semitones. And you can use that throughout the drop. For example, this. Make sure you create a good automation for that as well. Let's work on the transition between the first and second part of the drop a little bit more. Let's turn off the delay right there. Well, this sounds really dope in my opinion, so let's copy this. Let's copy that. Next up, we want to add this kind of string. It's used a lot by Bleu Clair as well. That sounds like this. I also added some reverb sweeps by automating the wet level of our reverb. For the pre-dub vocal, it's really cool to find some kind of breakbeat and put it beneath it. I found one on Splice and it sounds like this. And this sounds so groovy already. It's really cool in my opinion. I quickly made a build-up with the sample. So I just copied the sample we had before and I added a bunch of uplifters and down filters, impacts and some drums to it. And now we have the finished result for this video. And now I'm going to play the end result. Personally, I really love the end result. In the next video of this series, we will go over the sound and sampling of the legends Daft Punk. We are really excited for that, so make sure you keep an eye on our channel. You can sign up to Tracklib using the link in the description. This will give you 15 free samples, which is a pretty solid base to start with.